So, as you can see, the parts are lining up on this car. I'm going to do the timing chain, and that's the main thing I bought. But I bought a bunch of the AC stuff. I actually located the original hardline hose that goes this way, and I'm probably gonna have to move this because the receiver drawer actually goes here. I have a bracket coming, so that's working. I ended up buying a new radiator. There's nothing wrong with this radiator, but I just don't want to go through that. I got to put the AC condenser in first, of course, and I'm like, I want to do it now. So I got a whole bunch of stuff. Summit Racing sells a lot of the vintage air tubes and stuff, and they're very affordable, like $9.99 to like $18.99, $20.99, for all different lengths, for all different sizes. So you'll see what I do. It's pretty fucking cool. And I got a special manifold adapter. And it's not a solid one. I got something that's a little different. I'll show you when I get it in. But I'm taking a break from this Oldsmobile diesel car, my Oldsmobile diesel in my Chevy Celebrity, to my 85 Olds 98. I really didn't want to do a video of this, but I done the heads on this car when I got it with blown head gaskets, and the injector pump worked. So I said, fuck it, I'm going to redo it because I don't know. This motor was actually rebuilt. So I was like, why not believe that the injector pump was probably done? It probably wasn't, because there's other things that wasn't done as well, and for some reason the head gaskets blew, but that's because it had a better water pump when I bought it. And like I said, with this guy here, the AC hoses go a completely different direction. They're also not available, but I bought a new AC compressor for this, before last summer. But this car here has been leaking diesel out of the injector pump. It runs, but it keeps getting bled. And the good news about the 6-cylinder, you can bleed it between the drain over here, and you hit the little red button, and you loosen this screw right here. You bleed it all out. There's this fuel line here. Now, it's funny. It was a little tight getting out because it goes into the injector pump and comes out here. There's no O-ring on this side, and I somehow think I changed that O-ring, and that's why it kind of like was not glued to the line like this one was glued to the line. Because I started worrying. I'm like, was that the reason why it was getting airbound? It's one thing if it leaks, but usually if it leaks, it also gets airbound, But I'm just wondering if I forgot that, because even if you're a good mechanic, you make mistakes. However, the good news, what I realized, I'm not a dumb guy. So on the 6 cylinders, they only have 2 bolts, which is much smaller than the 3 bolts that the V8s have, because it's very hard to get the last bolt. Look what I did. I changed the bolts. I'm at the point in my career that I don't remember what the fuck I did. I put Allen key bolts, and I haven't put it on yet, but I'm assuming I probably used, like with the ball style at the end, but it looks like I can get straight in here for the most part. It's a little off. This also might not be the right size, but it's better if I can find the ball. 5/16 or 8mm. Oh, that's wonderful. All right, anyway, so that's my thing. I dropped the bolt in there anyway, as you can see from one of the brackets in the manifold. But that was actually pretty ingenious. It's all ready to come off. Really, I've worked on it for maybe 45 minutes. It's one of the easier ones to do. Even on the V8s, it's not really a hard one, but this is even easier, because it's front wheel drive and you're not kind of working backwards, This is, you can lean over the fender and see everything. So that's pretty cool. I'm like, boy, I was pretty smart when I did that, because I remember putting a head on, a headed thing on, 15mm head or something like that. It's also possible I lost the bolts, and then I said, hey, I can do this and maybe it'll be better. And sure enough, I think it will be easier to get it out. But maybe I'll make another one just to show how it runs after I'm done. But like I said, it leaks, it drips down. There's a little spot inside the manifold that allows the fluid to leak out and go down on the ground. And it was just a steady drip coming down. I had that with a V8 Oldsmobile diesel once, so I knew what was happening. And what happened was, this battery I bought, it's a farm battery, because the battery that they make for these body cars, you see, there's kind of room for another battery here, but you got that other thing that's supposed to collect water from the diesel, I think, or something. I could eliminate that because you don't get water in diesel anymore, really. And it's a big ass battery in there. I put a 31 T or something like that, but you can actually fit it. And I got the ones that don't have the top terminals. I used the original terminals with the studs, and I put these deep exhaust bolts on there. So by doing so, you know, that became a solid option because I've never not been able to crank it. Now the problem is that the battery that was sitting at Advanced Auto was over a year old. That was all they had, and I said, ah, fuck it. And I let it sit for a year. And it actually had juice in it after the year, but it probably hurt it. And I've been slow charging. I tried everything. It's not really working. So I got a new battery. I got to put that in as well because I don't want to keep having the problem. And especially with the fact that it was getting airbound, that I had to keep cranking it and bleeding it and leaving the key on, and the glow plug starts cycling. You know, it just starts to drain the battery before you can even get going. So it is only one battery, and it's like the new one I think is 1200. This one was like 1100, I think. 1190, yeah, 1200. It's probably the same thing. So might even be more now that I'm thinking of it. I remember seeing a 12, but I bought the battery 3 weeks ago and I never got it done. Let's see. I'm going to change the axles. Somebody did the brake lines wrong in this. Yeah, look, see, it's 1250 now. So that's a decent battery at least. The 50 is the extra 50 ain't gonna help me. This one is 2 Walmart batteries, and I've never had to jump it or anything. And I put them in when I got the car in August of 2018. They say 7 of 2018. So these I've never jumped them, never charged them, never slow charged them, never killed the battery, and they never drain. I let the car sit for 6 months, boom, starts right up. So that injector pump is good. I even have a set of injectors for that. In fact, I bought the injector pump for this car with the set of injectors, and I was thinking about changing the injectors, but I kind of, if this one craps out, I kind of don't want to mess it up. And being that I was thinking that was because of the room that you have here, but between leaving out this, sorry for the parts, I left out all of the you know, the heat shields and it basically keeps the AC condenser cool. I'm sure the AC will be cold enough if I actually get it to work, so I'm not really worried about that. But being that shit came off, you can actually get behind there, you know. Before you couldn't even get behind there. I think it has something to do with the motor mounts being changed too. It was like the rubber was lopsided or something, you know. So, anywho, I'll get those 2 bolts out, and then I'll be swapping this out. I got to change a bunch of these solenoids over undoubtedly. But I found a injector pump back when I bought that other car, because I bought this car before I bought this car. And when I saw how hard it was to work on this car, I was debating whether I should sell it or not. Now I pretty much have to keep it forever with all this work I'm doing to it. But this car here, I bought it. It had a rebuilt engine, but the head gaskets were blown, and it wasn't just the head gaskets. The front head here was totally, like, there was one spot that was not. It was like warped, so it needed to be milled a lot. It's runs good. I changed all the motor mounts in this, and a bunch of stuff I did last year. I have earlier videos, a year or 2 ago, on YouTube. So that's that. I'm going to change the gas tank in this because I believe it stutters after it reaches like a quarter tank. So I believe there's a venting issue also in the tank, or just whatever, the pickup is like rotted or something. The filter is not bad after 2 years, just like the other car. But I got another tank for it. I bought a float assembly that said it was for it on Rock Auto, but it's obviously not right. It's for a gas engine. But I'm like, you know what? If it works, because what happens is there's a changeover in this car, has either screw-in lines or plastic lines. This one still had the screw-in lines, so it was like a 1 year only, 85. Even the gas engine had the screw-in lines. Now they said it was for a diesel, but there's a pump. There's room for a pump, and it's gone. So I bought, you know, it's basically like a, typical GM setup, but I'm probably just going to extend the line down and use it as a pickup, depending what I see on the one that came out of the tank. But I suspect there's something wrong in that tank, you know, somehow, some way, you know. This is always fun to look in there. Everything was clean when I did it a couple of years ago, but it's amazing how caked up it gets so quickly. But it is what it is. It's a movie car. But I'm a glutton for punishment. It's not like I make any money, because in the end, these cars cost a lot of money when you have to fix it. But I got that injector pump on eBay somehow for like $250, and it was rebuilt. It's still sitting in the box. It's all nice and protected. It's not used or anything like that. The guy who sold me this car gave me an extra injector pump in the trunk, but it's for a rear-wheel drive 4.3. So it has I got a fan shroud that has something cut off of it. I got the injector pump. I really can't use it because I think it's different. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure. I have some website that I have really good numbers for these injector pumps, you know, and pretty much all of the 4.3 V6 front-wheel drive are all the same. Even in 85, when there were supposedly differences, it's really just these solenoids that make a difference. So I'm going to see what these guys actually do and, you know, try to make it work. On the other one, I'm sure I could. I hope it doesn't like mess with it, you know, but I don't know what I'm going to look for when the time comes. I don't know what I'm going to, you know, find when the time comes. So I guess I'll make another video then. Or I'll loop this video with another video that I'll make later on. We'll see what happens. All right, so I got the beast out. As you can see, this is the way this looks, and this is the little thing, little hole right there, and that is meant to, it drips out and goes behind the tranny and leaks down there. It's been leaking for a while. It was dripping and I was using the car because what happens is when it warmed up, it didn't leak. And now it just leaks all the time. So that's why I was delaying doing this for so long. Just trying to get away with it as long as possible, but hopefully everything goes well here. And I'm going to set up the other one and I'll make a video then. So this is the new guy, and of course, problems. Number one, this guy is a lot longer than this guy. I don't like different things. I don't like change. We got these two guys over here. They don't even give you the thing for it. That's why they say this was rebuilt by Stantadyne. They just took over their inventory when they, you know, thing went out of business. But see, this guy has these two connections here. Has this one, which I don't even know if it's correct. It's probably just the ground. I could probably put it elsewhere, but that's kind of a bummer. I'd like to take it apart and see, but I hate to swap things over. I really do. And I'm really hoping that this stuff here, like this down here looks right, but Jesus, why do they got to do this to me, you know? And, you know, I went by the listings that I know to be pretty accurate, but apparently it's not. As far as these two electrical things, looks like this guy has to come out. You know, that doesn't look like a huge deal. Hopefully there's nothing crazy in there. And then this guy here comes out, although there's an adjustment here. It's a little scary. And I'm going to take that apart first to see, you know, what the deal is. Maybe as soon as you screw it in, there's no adjustment and it figures out the adjustment. That was supposed to be the difference, but when you compare the injector pumps, it's not supposed to be different. So we shall see. Now, as far as the ground, like this looks like it's a ground because it's a ground for this. So you know, obviously it'd be harder to make this go over there, you know. But I have a feeling there is a difference on an 85. It's just that they didn't specifically rebuild these things for 85 because it was just a 1 year thing. But this might not even. I hope it's not the same as the rear-wheel drive one. I should check it because that would piss me off if they sell me something that's supposed to be the numbers on a, you know, put a front-wheel drive. Let's see. You can't see these things. Well, this definitely ends in a different number. Even on the GM website, it was saying something else, like the replacement, and that's what they listed this one as, the replacement. So this one says 4419, and I believe it was 4426. You know, I don't know if this is gonna have. Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. What does this say? This is the code. This is the number I did buy. See, it says 2524. It's supposed to be. It's not supposed to be that number. Now that I see, I didn't check all this when I gotten it, but I'm 2524. That's not what I bought. It was supposed to be 6624. I believe is the last 4 digits. So now I got to figure out what this is because it was obviously wrong. That's probably why they sold it cheap. So it probably interchanges, but you got to mess with it a bunch for all this stupid stuff, you know, and you really hate to mess with these adjustments. Not that there's any warranty on this, but obviously I'm going to have to count the threads of this just in case. Unless it's something where I get it running first and then bother to hook this up because it's optional, but it won't have the idle control that you know, it would. And it was pretty decent. You know, all that stuff worked on this one. You know, everything ran well as far as I'm concerned. You know, so more stuff to deal with. Let's see what happens. So this is the old one I had in the back of this car, and I can tell between the way the angle of this line goes to the front. I don't think it was bent here. That would, you know, wrap all the way around. You know, and everything else, like this had this particular thing, the rear wheel drive, you know, fan shroud. It's the number they gave. It's not the number that's in the box. Well, it's not the number that it was on the eBay ad. You know, I'm pretty upset. This is a set of injectors I had, and really isn't any information unless it's on the box. See, that's not what I bought. I'm so upset. Wow. I didn't even fucking look. That's a bummer. So, the bummer is, it's not that it's rear-wheel drive or front-wheel drive, that particular one. It's just only up to 84. There is some... I mean, I remember reading that 85 was different, and I knew 85 was different. But then when I did more research, I was like, it says... for the 85, it's the same one on the normal circumstances, but if you have a high altitude something or other, and basically all of these are high altitude with these things on it, but it says high altitude longitudinal, and if you even look up the definition on Google, it even tells you that's a rear-wheel drive car. So that's why I figured it was only for rear-wheel drive. So this is the standard one. Just a couple of things I gotta switch over, and apparently it's not right. So either I put this on and just deal with it, which don't really like doing. But that being said, I might just do it anyway and see what happens. You know, and see. That's the only thing I could really do. I gotta see. You know, I don't know how much more I gotta spend on this, but right now I don't really have the coin for that. So I can also just put it on and let it run until I can afford to get this one rebuilt. At least I'll have it out to rebuild. And hopefully this one will, you know, work, you know, as good as I need it to work. You know, it's not a bad one to change, so I could just do that. So I shall see, and I'm not going to bother showing videos of putting it back together, if I do put it back together, but I'll show it to you running afterwards. That's about it. So, it's kind of a bummer, but it is what it is. You live and learn. It's, even though I'm 47, I was 11 years old in 85, so, you know, it's even as a mechanic, it's a little before my age, and a lot of people were, you know, as far as the V8s were concerned, they were, like, making them gas engines and stuff like that, so I will probably just try to get it running the way it is, but it's not a happy day. Alright, thanks for watching. Not too bright when you take the old one and you start turning it and like, oh, look at it squirt out. I was turning it backwards and it was shooting out there. I'm like, oh, wait a minute, what's the configuration? I actually had it in there and I'm like, so this is the second part, to never get your light in the right place. You're trying to shine it in a whole area. So it looks like, I remember it being more defined, I want to say, but it looks like, see that bigger yeah, it looks like a smaller semicircle on the bottom, but, you know, turned this way. So basically, if you look at this guy, smaller semicircle is there, so I'm going to turn it like that, and that, I think, will be right. Because it pops right in when it's right. So, you know what? Maybe I'll continue the video and show you how easy and how little cursing I do when I do this. So, helps to have two hands, but you just kind of go like that. Now, of course, you got these lines here, and I just kind of make them bend a little bit. You know, not usually a big deal. But let's see if it didn't move. And always good to try to get these lines sort of out of the way. What's stopping me? Much harder with one hand, but who knows if this even goes in, because it may not even be the adapter that goes into the engine may be different. For all I know, but I don't know if I'm lined up. I'm hitting these two lines down here. There we go. So that would be sucky if they were wrong. You know, a different adapter. But you see how it went right in? If it was not right, it would not go in. And that little push away is probably the, excuse me, that little push away is probably the, see, I'm just pulled it out. It's pretty much in, but it's just a little tiny bit, and that's just a cushion of the big O-ring, you know, this guy, you know, and that has to make a positive seal, so when you tighten it, it doesn't leak. All right, so it's going in. It should run. The only thing is, like with this, I don't know if they had to take out this center part to get it over, and then I'll have to space it, or I just go like that and put some other washers, and I'm sure it'll survive. But it's funny because they didn't make a throttle cable for the Celebrity, but when I measured it, it was close to this one, and this one was very hard, believe it or not. I got it at AutoZone. I think I should order another one now. That's the number, 8320. That's the number for this car. That's the one I had to order it for, and it still works. And this is a trick. I think I probably noticed this, and I did this last time. If you just finish breaking it on any of these GM cables, it just won't. See right there, it's actually binding, but it may not. See that's full throttle right there. So it does go inside. There's a chance for binding, but it you know, first of all, this bracket isn't even in. So I might just finish breaking this off because it's not worth the binding part, you know, and you know, it's you could change it, you know, in the car. It's not a big deal. I got the other one out of the other car. So, all right, wish me luck. I just wanted to show something. I had a little trick here that I wanted to do. Of course, all my lights are dying. My phone is dying. So if you can get a straight run anytime on a bolt like this, and you don't, you know, obviously you can't mess up the threads. It's very important because you may run into this where you can actually use, see right there, I just got it turned. I actually started it and everything, got it turned on both sides, but my phone kept dying. I think I'll put a blooper reel at the end of this because one time it fell out on me. But ultimately, that's what I did. It's a good trick. If the threads are good and you have a stronger magnet than this, you can actually get it to turn and get it almost all the way in. In fact, I pretty much did right there because this one I just barely got. But, you know, pretty cool trick. I suggest it. So the other thing that's different about my other one, you see how this one here is a regular flare. In 85, they have an O-ring, and obviously it doesn't fit. So I got to get something that adapts from O-ring to that, and then it's going to be longer, so you can't really have a solid line. So I have this, although, you know, this old one here, and I'm looking all over for it. I'm looking crazy all over for it. I just realized this is an electrical connection. I don't know if the other one did. I didn't look. But if it does, I should have used this one. There might have not even been a hookup for it. In any case, they got this one on there, you know, and is that 5/16? Nah, it's got to be 1/4 inch line. Anyway, so the guy took off all these lines. I got all these fucking lines, and there's no main line. I'm like, how the hell do you take something from a car and not take that as well? He's got valve covers. He's got a water pump pulley, and some other BS brackets here. Oh, this was in this box here. It's an extra filter. Oh man, this is why I don't like doing things like this with this changeover, just to take it all apart again eventually. But I need the car to run. And I could have maybe taken it apart and start trying to change seals and shit on it, but I really don't know enough about it. But they all leak from back here, you know, which seems easy enough to replace, you know, to be 100% honest. But I hate to take out something, you know, this complex and just fix one seal on it and then send it home, even though it runs. But oh well. Now I gotta make something. So oh well. Okay, so quick trick. Anytime you have something like this, you get yourself a strong ass magnet, if a magnet had an ass. And you can actually turn it in. This is why it's important not to like force them in and screw up those threads, you know, because then you can usually jiggle it and get it started kind of thing. This is not so far away that it's impossible, but I'm going to go like that and actually I'd have to reposition it, but I think you get the idea. The other one might be more needy of this kind of... Put my better light, and the hole is up a bit. Yeah, so it's best to rotate it so the bolt's at the bottom of the adjustment, so it kind of does fall in a good spot. But you can get your magnet, and like I said, you need right there. See, I just got it to spin a little bit. That's literally all you need sometimes. And I have gotten bolts just to test it, you know, all the way around. But I mean, it's dangling literally by a thread. Oh, look at that. I was wrong. And I will lose it. And worst possible place. Oh well, this video didn't work.